Hey guys, welcome back. This is Deep Blue. Today we're going to be sleeving a single card from Urza's Legacy. I got this one off eBay. It just showed up today. I figured I'd walk through this one. Normally I won't do, a single video per card, but with Urza's Legacy, I think it's worth taking some time to take a look. So, start by getting this off the bag. Normally also, I'm getting a little more averse to buying cards off eBay because I'm concerned about quality. I don't want to sound, arrogant about that or anything. Obviously everybody's concerned about quality, but in particular, I've had some experiences where eBay vendors send me cards that they say are near mint and they're not quite there, which is fine. People have different interpretations, but there are just a few vendors I trust for these kinds of things, and I think I'm going to be drawing that down in the future. This card in particular, though, I got for two reasons. One, it was pretty cheap. I think this cost me about $1.25. And second, because it's, Urza's Legacy. And for those of you who aren't familiar from that era, Urza's Legacy was the first Magic the Gathering set to have foils, which makes it kind of special. And since, fewer people played Magic back then, there are also issues with lower print runs and therefore scarcity. But we'll get into that later. This episode I want to talk about quality. And now I've already gone through this card and looked at it, so there are a few things I want to highlight for you. First, we'll take it out of the sleeve. The packaging itself is good. I like it when they send it in top loaders. I like when they send it in sleeves. That's really nice. You'll notice that there is a slight bend to it. Slight bend by modern standards. This would be a significant bend by the old standards. And it looks like, actually, now that I see it, I'm sure you can see it now in the foiling there. The slight nick. That isn't too bad. Little stuff like that, like it's not great. I would prefer not to have it. I wouldn't get it in a card that cost, $40 or $50. But with $1.25, it's not that bad. I can put it in for now, and if I find a better one along the way, hopefully it'll be just as cheap. What really stood out to this card about me is something that you see a lot with the older foils in particular. Now the surface itself looks pretty good. I'm sure if you can see that I do that shine like this right there. We don't really see, other than the top up here, we don't really see any major imperfections, which is nice. I think the back, I'm less concerned about the back, unless there's big gouges in it, because obviously once they're in the binder, you're not gonna see the back. The corners are a little rough. This card probably got played around a bit, maybe got stuffed in somebody's shoebox. Not ideal. What worries me about this card, and I'm not sure how well you can see it, is the clouding. Yeah, there we go. You can see it up top here. That clouding comes from basically what I'm doing right now by holding it with my fingertips. It comes from all the muck and grime and dirt and everything that we pick up on our hands and put it on here. It also can come from moisture. This is one of the ways in which moisture can really affect the old cards. The old classic foiling process had a lot less problems with that than the newer ones. This is a light curve by our standards today. But for a card, these cards just don't curl as much as long as we have them now. And so I don't know of a way, you can flatten bent cards, but I don't know of a way to get that cloudiness off. So again, if this was a $50 card, I would not have bought this. In fact, I won't buy cards that expensive off eBay. Simply because I'm concerned about the quality issues, and that's a big thing with foils. You get non-foil cards. You can take them a lot of different ways. There are things that wouldn't be as bad treatment-wise for non-foils. They can be bad for foils. Humidity is a great example. A light little bend like this isn't lethal in an old card, but for this, it's pretty bad in a foil card. Not in this specific circumstance. This is fine. This is acceptable for me. If this had no other flaws and just that bend, I'd be happy. I'm overall happy with the purchase. I'm not too worried about, I would worry about major damage in the sense of if this was a major chip out, I'd probably hold that against the vendor. If any of the corners were bent or mutilated, if there were any gouges in the back, if there were any surface problems, other than the clouding, the surface actually looks pretty good, which is nice. And also, Urza's Legacy. With the rarity of them, I'll take cards when I can get them. I'm sure those of you who follow this stuff closely know that There are issues with speculators. There's issues with people in the finance community who go out there and are trying to buy cards that are hard to get. You know, on one hand, it's a free market. On the other hand, you know, this is a game. I'm a little wary of people using it as a vehicle for financial speculation. I think that detracts from some of it. If you've got a Black Lotus, that's one thing. If you're gobbling up, you know, these kind of cards just for the hell of it, then I'm a little less sympathetic. Partly because it's going to affect me. You know, Urza's Legacy, Urza's Destiny has problems with this. 7th edition has real problems with this for reasons that we'll get into in a future video. But God, look at that foiling. Even Cloudy, I love that foiling. You know, this is one of the great things about the old borders is that there's so much more room and space to be luminescent, and that pattern just goes so well with it. Looks great. The only downside is, of course, the artwork is not foiled. But then again, if the artwork were foiled, we'd probably have more issues with curling. And with these old cards, that would be especially fatal because then you have, you know, a lot more. It's one more variable to worry about when keeping them nice. So what I usually do for these cards, I shouldn't do that in case you guys think it's an endorsement. It's not. What I usually do is double sleeve them for every single one. Even though this is a common, I want to keep this in good shape. And that's especially important with foils because the less time you can expose them to air, the better it will be for them. I live in a place that's pretty dang humid, and so you just see cards curl like that. So that's really unfortunate. I've run into issues where I've actually got cards from vendors. You know, they bring them out of the back storeroom here in my local area, and lo and behold, the cards, you know, look like a soup dish. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because the card may otherwise be perfect in every way. It could, you know, have no issues with surface. It could look in mint condition, but that is fatal. As you notice, missing some in Urza's Legacy especially. There are, I think, 24 Urza's Legacy and Urza's Destiny foils. And let's see, Opportunity is number 37. And we are going to put that after, you'll notice I have a Palancron. I'll go into the story behind that. Oops, didn't mean to get that close to the mic, sorry. I'll go into the story behind that at some future date. And there it is. One more down. You see, not as luminescent as that Palancron, unfortunately. So, one down, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 to go. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope you found it interesting and my rambling wasn't too bad. Since these are my first few videos, if you have any tips, you know, constructive criticism, I'd love to hear in the comments. Either way, thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you soon.